Hey guys, Sean here. Today, Luke and I are back with another tier list. Today, we'll be ranking our favorite decks we've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is going to be a nice personal tier list. You're going to hear about all our favorite decks. Maybe your favorite deck is here too. Maybe you're based and you love the decks that we love. Let's find out. We have a few tiers here. We have...
Big Monster Go Brrr. Is 7-Up okay? Sacred/Crystal based. You had to be there. And what's a Pendulum Summon?
So let's get into it. Let's just fucking go. Let's just go. This is going to be the best tier list we've ever done. Let's begin with everyone's favorite Dragon Waifu deck, Dragonmaids.
I'm the Dragonmaid player here. I've done several videos on Dragonmaids on the channel. I've evolved the deck in a lot of ways. It used to just be a basic sort of combo-y control deck that relied on the battle phase, but we amped it up a little bit. One of the most viewed profiles we have is one of the Dragonmaid profiles, one of the last ones we did. It was the first video of the year actually, and it's when I started introducing the Dragon Rulers into the Dragonmaid archetype, which synergizes very well. I really like having old cards that just do a lot of stuff really unrestricted with Dragon Rulers, and I like that we're able to bring old cards into like a new sort of era. So I really like Dragonmaids, and I will continue to make a lot of videos on them, but they're not my favorite. I would say I would put them in the middle of the tier list.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think it's a cool deck, and I really liked how I've changed it over time, and a lot of the people watching do really enjoy the content as well, because we got a lot of good feedback from it, and I got a lot of people that do really like Dragonmaids out there. But just considering how many decks are on this list and how many I know I really love, I think Dragonmaids are just in the middle somewhere. Yeah,
I've played Dragonmaids in Master Duel. I play more of a Bestial build because I just like Bestials. Bestial's really cool. But yeah, I love Dragonmaids as well. Really fun deck. They're nothing crazy, but playing the deck just feels nice. You know, it's a really fun deck to play. I love the gimmick. I love that it's a dragon control deck, which is just so cool. I wish it was a bit better, but you know, we love it, and we love the Dragonmaid waifus. It can't go wrong. It's just a really cool deck. Of course, I don't have it in paper, so I've only played it online. So I guess it's not my favorite because I don't own it in person. But you know, really fun deck. I love playing it whenever I get the chance to, and everyone loves Dragonmaids, so pretty good. I think it's a really good deck. Here's a deck that's pretty much all me. Chimera.
I hate this deck.
Oh, it's so good though. So I played Branded Chimera. Now that Branded's been hit with Brand Fusion at 1, I don't really play this deck anymore. And I basically stopped playing this deck when the new Illusion support came out, because you know, if you're not going to play it at full power, why play it at all, I guess. It's okay. Probably about here. I do like the Chimera cards, right? I like the engine. I like it's like nostalgic and stuff, and it's kind of like a cool kind of control. You can play it kind of control-y. Your main combo is kind of like one card that kind of ends on a hand rip, and you get some negates and grave off of one card, and you get your Chimera Fusion on the field, which can be used to go into stuff like Guardian Chimera. So it does feel pretty kind of mid-range control-y, which is fun. It can combo off as well. Really good synergy with Branded. I do like a lot of decks that synergize with Branded. Branded's kind of just a fun engine to put into certain decks. And yeah, I really enjoyed Branded Chimera. I took it to locals a bunch. I had some pretty good success with it. When it came out in Master Duel, I didn't play it much at all, mainly because Branded Fusion at 1 really hurts the deck. If you're playing it with just Branded Chimera, obviously Chimera is really good in TCG with stuff like the Fiendsmith engine and Azamine and stuff like that. But yeah, those cards are too expensive, so I've only played it Branded Chimera, but a really fun deck. I do like it a lot.
Okay, Skull Servants.
Let's go! We love Skull Servants! Okay, where are we putting this?
I like Skull Servants a lot, and my favorite version of Skull Servant I ever made was Branded Skull Servant. I think I had so much fun with that. It synergized really well, because not only are you able to rely on your branded stuff, but you can also rely on your Skull Servant things. And I still ran enough white monsters to bulk it up to be really powerful. Still though, considering the amount of decks here, it's not my favorite. It's definitely above Dragonmaids, just in terms of how much fun I had playing the deck. I think that I've met enough Skull Servant videos on the channel where I can be fairly familiar with them, but even still, I just know that a bunch of it kind of relies on luck at some stages, and it can be a bit bricky at times. So I know it's not the most consistent. It can be so demoralizing when you just don't get a good hand to pop off with. So that's sometimes I do get depressed playing this deck. It can be really fun though, but still, it's just not my favorite. I'd probably put it above Dragonmaids, but still in the middle of the list. Definitely Sacred/Crystal based.
Yeah, we played this deck together on Master Duel a bunch. We played it like about a year ago, branded Skull Servants, and then we played it more recently with like kind of a mill deck. And you know, both times it's like, yeah, it's awesome when you win with it, but sometimes you just get those hands where you just can't do anything, and it's so depressing. You know, some going second decks just have that issue, but we all love Skull Servants, the best deck in the game. But yeah, we have some better decks coming up. Speaking of which, we have Dinos. I don't know how I came across like Dinos. I don't know how it became one of my favorite decks. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite decks. I really like Dinos. I'm kind of nostalgic with this deck, you know, like some of the older dinosaur cards like I had as a kid. I remember when all the dinosaur stuff got reprinted in like the maximum gold sets. I'm like, we pulled a bunch of it and I'm like, yeah, I'll build Dinos, you know, it's going to be a fun deck. And I know Luke was a bit like hesitant because he was like, "Oh, dinos are not like real Yu-Gi-Oh cards." But
can I just say, I just thought, in my opinion, when I think of Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think of dinosaurs. I think of spellcasters and magicians and machines and cyberpunk type stuff. Just dinosaurs seemed a bit odd to me.
That is fair enough. But I just really love the deck. I just like really like the play style. I like destroying your stuff and you kind of set up pretty cool boards. It's kind of like a toolbox deck where you can go into a bunch of different like kind of synchro. You can go into synchros, you can go into XZs, go into links. It was just really, really fun, and it just kept getting new support like with the Transcendosaurus stuff. And you know, I just always enjoyed playing it. I just like the play style. It kind of sucks that all the combos are 2-card combos, but it's really fun, and it kind of sucks that Misk is at 1. But it's really fun. I really enjoyed the deck. I like that you can just build it so many different ways. You can play it going first. You can play it as a blind second deck. You can add in a bunch of different engines. You can play it like with Volzars and stuff like that. I never have, but I think it's really interesting with the kind of like the fire side of it with your Volzars and stuff like that. But I just really like the deck. I think it's super cool. I don't know what else to say. It's just awesome. It's a really, really fun deck. Next up, Shaddolls.
I love Shaddolls. I put it in the second tier is 7-Up OK. One of my favorite decks I've ever built, but I just didn't play it often enough, was a 60-card Shaddoll build. What I really liked about it was, this wasn't even when Grass was legal, so you would be wondering why the hell I'm even playing it. But I thought it was great because it just combined all the fusion stuff that I really, really like. It had Shaddolls in there, it had Fry for Patchwork, had some Invoked stuff, it had Dogmatica in it. There were so many ways you were able to take the deck that it would just elevate it to new heights, and it was always fun. There was never, which Shaddolls in my opinion, there was never a version of the deck that I played where it wasn't fun. Maybe it might have been unfun for my opponent because I kept window locking them, but I digress. I think Shaddolls is just one of those decks that they'd always have really powerful boss monsters in the likes of Construct and Winda, and nothing can really take away from their power. They are just really, really good cards. It's just that the main deck itself and just the ways of bringing out these monsters can be a little bit difficult. I might have been playing Heroes a little bit longer than I've been playing Shaddolls, but Shaddolls was the first deck that I was playing where you can fusion summon using monsters from the deck, and I thought that was crazy. I was like, that is insane. This is when Sean and I started getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just thought that that was an amazing concept. I was like, this is really, really good. I really like decks that they have 2 effects as well. Like the Shaddoll monster have a flip effect on the field and have a graveyard effect. I think they are a bit old now because just the way cards are like worded now, they don't always get their effects when they're like sent to the graveyard and stuff like that. But I digress. I think it's a really, really fun deck. I had a lot of fun playing it. Still not my favorite, but I still think it's one of the most fun decks I've ever had, like building. Just all the different variations, I think it definitely deserves a spot and is 7-Up OK.
I think it's really cool as well. It's one of those decks where like I have never played it, but playing against it and just I think the card design and the deck design is just really cool. Obviously cards like Winder are insanely broken. Construct's a really cool boss monster. Being able to be like really aggressive but also get your resources back from grave, it's just really cool. And of course, you know, Shaddol Fusion something from deck, you gotta love it. Next up, Marincess, more like Marincess. Okay, I built it like recently enough. I'll be honest with you, the only reason I built this was because I pulled so many of the cards in Duels from the Deep, that one Legendary Duelist set, and because every time you go to locals, we always get those packs as you know, your entry packs, and I just pulled so many of the Marincess cards. I'm like, they're all low rarity. I think the only expensive card is Marincess Dive. I just built the deck. I already had a bunch of cards anyway. From like previous tins and stuff like that. I just made Marincess, and it's like super budget. You can fit so many hand traps in, and it's just a deck full of 1-card combos. It's really fun. You just kind of link climb into your boss monster. If you have a good enough hand, you can make stuff like Totally Awesome and stuff like that. There's a few different ways you can play it. You can play it with stuff like your Ice Jade cards, which are really cool. I really like the deck. I think it's really cool. I'm really happy it's a budget deck, and I'm really happy it's like a competent budget deck. And you know, it's not like too crazy combo. You don't like combo into a million negates, but you know, everything is a 1-card combo. You can pretty much always play the game, which is awesome. So yeah, I really like the deck. Not my favorite deck. I'd say probably doesn't belong to me up here. Maybe something like this. I enjoy it a lot, but you know, I've only played it for so long, and I haven't really mastered the deck. You know, it wouldn't be my kind of go-to deck, but I do really enjoy it. It is definitely one of my more favorite like Cyber Slink decks. I will say that much.
Yeah, decks that have like easy accessibility and like 1-card starters, I always think are really good. I never played Marincess, but you played it a lot. You haven't played it in a while, but you did play it a lot at a certain stage, and I still thought it was like, I didn't mind losing to it because it does take a lot of skill to like play it. So I thought it was a very good deck, and I think he played it well. So yeah, definitely a really good one.
Next up, Heroes. Luke and I both love Heroes. Are we going in top tier, or are we going a bit lower?
In my personal opinion, I think Heroes is one of the most fun decks ever. I'd put it, this is going to be the first top tier.
Alright.
Big monster go burr, that applies for Heroes as well, because we just did it. We just did a live duel. We just recorded it there today, and the build I've been working with Heroes lately is a blind second hero build. And in the live duel, without giving anything away, I had to go first after losing the die roll, but I was still able to set up a really good board. And it's just one of those boards that you wouldn't be able to set it up any other way unless you're playing Heroes. Like, the deck is designed to go second, but they were still able to set up a lot of different stuff in order to like make the deck really, really good. And it's just one of those decks that no matter what, you can just take it in so many different directions, and you're always going to have fun with it. Whether you're fusion summoning, link summoning, or even just bringing out big main deck boss monsters and stuff like that, I just have a lot of fun with it. I just think it's one of the most fun decks I think I've ever played, and I would always have a hero build of some form in my deck box. No matter what, I do like kind of change out a bunch of my decks depending on how good they're getting or how bad they're getting and stuff like that, but I always somehow find up space for a hero deck, and I think it's one of the best decks ever.
Yeah, I love Heroes too. I played a bit of like pure proper Heroes, like Elemental Heroes or Omni Heroes, and I do enjoy the deck a lot. I do play more of a Destiny Hero build because I just want to be different. You know, like I've seen a bunch of like regular hero stuff, and I kind of wanted to just try out Destiny Heroes. I think Destiny Heroes are like cooler, I guess, and I just wanted to try the deck, even though it is worse. It can do some like unique, funny things. So I do enjoy that like version a lot more. But Heroes, like, we all love Heroes. You know, Heroes are just like such an iconic archetype for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's really cool that it's so iconic even though it's not from like the original series. It's really cool that kind of like, you know, Jaden and his like heroes are as iconic pretty much as Yugi and Dark Magician, which is awesome. Heroes are just really cool. You gotta love them. Fucking top tier right there. Unfortunately, we have Prank Kids.
You had to be there.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. I love decks that link climb. I think that's one of the most fun mechanics this game has ever produced. I think link climbing is so much fun. And it's something that Prank Kids did so well, because it had a link one with... Okay, I'll just explain Prank Kids real quick. With Prank Kids, there was 4 different Prank Kids, and then if you used them as fusion or link material for a Prank Kid monster, they go to the graveyard, and then you can activate their effect to special summon another Prank Kid of a different name onto the field. Now, that's one easy way of link climb, especially when you start off with a link 1, which there's any Prank Kid, link it off, then you get to special summon another Prank Kid link monster, go for one of your link 2s, and it was so much fun. It combined fusion summoning and link summoning, 2 of my favorite summoning mechanics, and I thought it was so much fun, but then they went and killed the deck. They killed it so goddamn hard. I'm not going to lie, the Prank Kids weren't always all that exceptional anyways. They had some really cool boss monsters that were able to either harpies your opponent's field or Magikey your opponent's field, but it was always for a big cost, because that Harpie's Feather Duster was for the cost of a Link 4, and that Magikey was the cost of a fusion monster that needed 3 specific Prank Kids to go into. So don't get me wrong, it was quite hard sometimes to get out the right monsters that you needed, but when you did, it was so satisfying. Yami Mew was really good as well, because it was the starter essentially for all the Prank Kids. It was your Link 1, and also they had the effect that rather than tributing for the cost of like Harpies or Raigeki your opponent's field, you could just banish Mamamoo instead. So it was really, really great. When they hit the deck originally and it was limited to 1, I thought, fine, understandable, I'll take it on the chin, it's fine. But then they just straight up banned it. And now it's been so long that it's been banned that Prank Kids have got power crept so much that it will never really be a good deck again, I feel like. Unless it gets some like ridiculous support, but I don't really see that happening, especially because we're not getting Mew back. It's just one of those decks that you just had to beat it, dude. It was so much fun. I had a lot of fun playing it, but no, it's been ruined now. It's been gone for too long.
Next up, Sky Strikers. Pretty cool deck. It's alright.
Yeah, anyways, Sky Strike is one of my favorite decks of all time. I just love decks that are very simple to like use, that just require a good pilot in order to get them to pop off. I think anyone can play Sky Strikers. It's a very easy deck to understand in concept, but unless if you really know what you're doing and really know the intricate things in and out, you can really steal games that seem unwinnable. And that's one thing I think Sky Striker can do really well. I don't know if I prefer it to Heroes. I think I do, I would give the edge to Sky Strikers because I've done a lot of videos on them. And I do think it's one of my favorite decks of all time. I would always want to like have a Sky Striker build in some capacity in my deck catalog, essentially. I just have a lot of fun with it, and the fact that they are still able to top events, I find just absolutely insane. It really shows how much like fans really, really love this deck and really want it to do well, and the amount of support that it gets, it's really, really cool, as long as Konami aren't screwing up the support, that is. I think it's just one of those decks that's really, really fun to play, and it's one of those decks that you'd want to be good at in order to like really do it justice. So I think it's probably one of my favorite decks of all time.
You're definitely right about that. I've played a bit of Sky Strikers in Master Duel, and in person I've borrowed your deck. And yeah, it's like simple and it's really good, but if you don't know like the intricacies of the deck, you can't be as good as someone who really knows the deck. Like, I've played it on Master Duel a bunch, and I just make so many mistakes. I just like can't see lines that should be so obvious. Because I've seen good Sky Striker players and they're really good, but it's like when you compare yourself to that, it's like how do I get to this point? So, but it is a really cool deck. Of course, fan favorite. It's just awesome, you know? Like, having one monster that just links into a bunch of different monsters is just a really cool idea. So, yeah, we love Sky Strikers on this channel. Sky Striker best deck. Next up, Tri-Brigade. I played a good bit of Tri-Brigade for a while. I played Pure because I really just wanted to play Pure Tri-Brigade. This was after it was like really good in like 2020, right? This is like kind of after its like peak. It does not go down here. Maybe something like this. I have wanted to bring it back. I think my last profile on this was like over a year ago. It's really fun, and it did get like a specific new support card in like Syak or something like that, which genuinely did help a lot for like the Pure build. But yeah, obviously it's not as good as it used to be. I do want to get into like Fire King Tri-Brigade. I do want to build that and give it a try, because I just really like Tri-Brigade. I just think they're such a cool deck. It's kind of a link climbing deck. You banish stuff from the grave to summon out big links, and you can do it on your opponent's turn with like cards like Revolt. It's kind of one of those simple decks where you just kind of do a small little combo, but it ends on like some pretty good disruption. So like Shurig banishing stuff, you can like draw cards in your combo. You can get a bunch of hand traps in your deck because the engine is not like too big. And it's really cool that it's like kind of a tri-type deck. You know, you have 3 different kind of types in your deck. You have Beast, Beast Warrior, and Wing Beast, which is really cool. There's some like unique things you can do with that. Like you can search a Wing Beast monster, so you can just search cards like DD Crow, which is really cool. So I really like the deck. I never played it when it was like meta, but I really enjoyed the deck. I think it's really cool, and I definitely would like to kind of give it another go.
Yeah, Tri-Brigade's a really powerful deck. It was introduced in what's probably one of my personal favorite sets of all time, Phantom Rage. I thought that was a really good set, and Tri-Brigade, having the link climbing thing is great, but it's even better because you're able to just banish materials from the graveyard to link summon, depending on the monster effect, which I think is really good. Sean played it well a lot, and yeah, it's just a really good deck overall.
Now for the best deck in the game, we have Nurse Burn. Now, we played Nurse Burn on a whim because Luke was like, we wanted to do a series on Master Duel called like Master Jank, where we just played Jank decks. And one of the first ones we chose was Nurse Burn. And it's actually really, really fun. Like, I was not thinking this deck was going to be fun and like decent, but I've just won so many games at Master Duel using this deck because sometimes you just win. Sometimes there's just nothing your opponent can do to beat you. You go first, you normal summon Reficule, and you set 5 back row, and you just win. It's beautiful. It's the best deck in the game.
I think it's one of the funniest decks that we've ever built. We were just thinking of a series to do, and then I said, what if we just make bad decks that their whole purpose is that they're bad, but we just bring them onto Master Duel. I think we might have, like, when we were playing on Sean's account, it might be like a low rank, so we said, we have nothing to lose, let's just play Nurse Burn. And I think we won the majority of our games.
I think we did.
It was really funny just going against some of like these really good decks with Nurse Burn of all things and still being able to win some was really, really funny. I had a lot of fun. Nurse Burn was just one of these decks that I probably would never make in real life, but it's just one of those decks that's really funny and always have a special place in my heart. I think it's so funny. Definitely deserves to be in the second tier. Yeah, 100%. It's 7-up okay is where they belong.
Genuinely, sometimes when I'm having a bad day on Master Duel, I just load up this deck and I just win. It doesn't make any sense, but it's the best. Next up, Exodia. Technically, we could put this down and you had to be there because my first Exodia build was a kind of gimmicky build known as Heart of the Underdog Turbo, where you use the card Heart of the Underdog to draw a bunch of normal monsters. You fill your deck with normal monsters. When you draw a normal monster, Heart of the Underdog lets you draw another card, and it's not once per turn. So you keep drawing, and because all the Exodia pieces are normal cards, you can keep drawing and then draw into Exodia. I never pulled it off. We played it in like a funny video we did where we built decks for $10. And yeah, I never pulled it off. Luke pulled it off against me, which is very funny. But yeah, so if we're talking about that kind of gimmicky build, you had to be there. However, Exodia got new support, and now I think it's pretty good. Maybe if we're talking about like my favorite decks, like maybe like here. It's really cool, and I love Exodia. I love like the gimmick of Exodia. I think Exodia is really cool. He's a cool looking dude. He's like the all-powerful, the unstoppable Exodia. He's iconic. The new deck with like Millennium cards is very fun. You can play cards like Shifter. You can play cards like Lava Golem, which are really cool. I love kind of OTK decks, and he can OTK very easily. He gains attack equal to your life points, and you can use like the spell card to give him up to 10k attack. And he has the trap card, which can just blow up your opponent's board. It's very fun. I have only like recently built it, and it's pretty cool. I do enjoy the deck a lot. Would it be one of my favorites? Probably not. Like, if I'm being honest, you know, maybe about here. I love Exodia, but I think probably about there. Alright, one of my favorite decks in the game is Rikka's. I love like Rikka's as an archetype, and we can kind of extend this to like Plant Link. Rikka Sun Avalon more accurately, because I played Rikka Sun Avalon a bunch. Like, it was my most played deck. I began playing Rikka's like when it came out in Secret Slayers, because I saw a Team APS video about Rikka's and I thought the archetype was really cool. I thought tributing your opponent's monsters for like cost was really cool. You didn't have to worry about like, you're pretty much kaijuing all your opponent's monsters. It's a really cool gimmick. Tributing is like a really kind of unique way to interact with your opponent's monsters. And you know, the art style is awesome. All the cards were high rarity and they looked really nice. It wasn't like crazy when it first came out. It was very much a plant control deck. And when it came out, it genuinely wasn't great. It was decent, but nothing special. And then it got new support with Princess and Concon. The deck became insane with like the Sun Avalon engine. And yeah, Rikka Sun Avalon is probably my most played deck like ever. I played it in a bunch of Master Duel tournaments. I played it a bunch in real life. I brought it to locals a few times. Genuinely one of my favorite decks I've ever played. Just so fun. I love one card combos into an unbreakable board. It just feels like, there's no feeling like it. It's just the best. It's awesome. I haven't really kept up with the deck in like TCG. The new Ragnarok cards came out. The new Aroma cards came out. I didn't really keep up with like Plant Link. On Master Duel, I'm getting back into it, but it is a bit different. But I still love the deck. But I think like my favorite times playing this deck was kind of like, you know, Rikka Sun Avalon, normal summon Loci, end on an insane board. It was just the best feeling in the world. Rikka's best deck, let's go.
One of the most hardest decks to play against, because it literally does and sets up everything. I was sometimes like, when I was building some of my decks, because Sean was playing this so often, I was thinking, how is this good against Rikka's sometimes? Because I just played it so often and it was just such a good deck and so consistent. Yeah, it was one of those decks that was always so hard to play against. I think it's one of the most slept on decks ever. People really don't realize how powerful it is. I don't know why it's not top in more tournaments. I think a lot of people should definitely pay a lot more respect to Rikka, because it's one of the greatest decks I think I've ever played against. I never really played it myself, but just playing against it, I don't even feel bad losing against it, because it is genuinely one of the toughest decks that's out there.
Next up, Darklords. Now, I've had a history with Darklords. I remember we pulled a bunch of Darklord cards in a very old set in Destiny Soldiers, and I just saw the cards, I'm like, cool, I should like build a Darklord deck. So I built pure Darklords, very fun, I love the gimmick, I love like paying life points to copy the effect of like spells in the grave. So you can activate like a spell card to search, and then you can use a Darklord card to pay 1000 and then copy the search spell in the grave. So it's a really cool gimmick. I love the boss monster. I remember the reason I built the deck was because I saw the first Darklord, and I'm like, this boss monster is awesome, his effect is insane, he looks cool, he's a level 12 fusion, he's like based on the devil, it's based on Lucifer, it's so cool, and I'm like, yeah, why not build this deck? And I think it's really, really fun. After I played a pure build, I stopped playing it for a while, and then I brought it back with like Despia cards, because Darklord Despia is like a really good kind of synergistic deck. They're both like dark fairy decks, and I had a lot of fun with that as well. Only problem is, deck's kind of bricky, deck's kind of like not the most consistent, but it's so fun. It's a really cool deck. I probably gotta put it up like here. I really enjoyed the deck when I played it. I should bring it back. It is like one of my more favorite decks. Yeah, it's just really cool. Aesthetic's awesome. Nurse is a part of it, you know, Darklord Nurse. That's a part of the archetype, so there you go. Yeah, just a really, really fun deck. Next up, Cyberdarks. Funnily enough, Luke and I have very different opinions on this deck. Do you want to start?
Cyberdarks are so dumb. They're so bad. Why the hell do people keep playing this crap? Here's the thing. I'm a huge Cyber Dragon fan. I think Cyber Dragon's one of the most fun decks I've ever played. I really like the idea of contact fusing, and I think it's really good that you can bring out really big machine monsters. That's something me and Sean both like. We like decks that can bring out really massive machine boss monsters, go in for an OTK. Cyber Darks seem like a step back, and I hate that they're attached to Cyber Dragons and they're leeching off of them, making them... I just don't like it. It just makes them weaker. I feel like if Cyber Darks were its own thing and they relied on their own thing, which is the direction they seem to be going right now, great. But the fact that they still need some of the Cyber Dragon cards in order to make it work, it just disappoints me. I don't really like Cyber Darks all that much. I think they're inferior Cyber Dragons. I'm not a fan. I know loads of people would disagree with me, but honestly, mixing different types together either makes it a really good deck or a really bad deck. That's just because of consistency. With Cyber Dragons, you're always going to get machine monsters. With Ancient Gears, you're always going to get machines. It's fine, doesn't really matter. That's what synergy is like. You get some decks where it's kind of like prank kids. They have pyros, they have thunder, they have all different kinds. Cool, they still have a synergy. With Cyberdarks, it's dragon and machine, and sometimes they just don't synergize the way they should do, and it just makes the deck all clunky and you can brick with it. And the archetype is so old now that they still want to keep the old cards relevant, but they're just not as good enough to stay up with today's meta. I don't think Cyberdarks are all that good at all. I think they're just inferior to Cyber Dragons, and I'll stand by that opinion until they get great support or I die. That's just how it goes.
Now, I 100% agree. That is like 100% accurate and true. Cyberdarks, compared to Cyber Dragons, they suck. They die to one interruption. They're like a bad deck. However, I heard all this Cyberdark hate, and I wanted to figure out exactly how good this deck was. So I made like a multi-part series where I like got 3 of the structure decks for Cyberdarks, built the deck, learned it pretty well, and like made a good deck I'm pretty happy with. I just played it a bunch, and I really enjoyed the deck. Funny enough, I think I enjoy it more than Exodia. Mainly because of the Cyber Dragon stuff, funny enough. Normal Summon Core going to like fun combo is pretty cool. I do like that Cyberdarks are different than Cyber Dragons. They do suck compared to them. Literally, if you Ash Core, you just die. You can't do anything. However, I like that Cyberdarks are more of a going first deck. You can set up multiple negates with your Cyber Darkness Dragon. It has really good synergy with like a Crypt deck, so you have like your Armored Xyz. Some people run that package. Tyrion King Regulus is really good. I love Power Bonding, you know, Power Bonding is fantastic. Cyberdark Chimera searching Power Bond. It's just a great feeling. And even having a big giant boss monster in Cyber Darkness and Dragon is just awesome. He's not very good, I'll be honest with you, he's not the best. But I do enjoy the deck, I think it's really fun. I played it on Master a little bit, and again, really fun deck. It doesn't have to be the best. I enjoy it. I put a lot of time and effort into playing the deck, and yeah, I did gain an appreciation for Cyberdark, so pretty cool. Next up we have Tenpai. So let me tell you my history with Tenpai. I heard about Tenpai and I built it in TCG, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build this budget deck, because it was pretty much budget at the time. I'm gonna build it. I'm gonna wait for a Trident Dragon reprint, and we're gonna play an awesome OTK deck. So I built it. I played it like once. It was okay, and then I combined it with Buster Blader, and I was like, yeah, this is also kind of okay. It's not crazy. Never really played it again, and then it came out in Master Duel, and it is the worst deck I've ever had to play against. So I don't really like the gimmick. Like, yeah, I love OTK decks, but I like working for the OTK, you know what I mean? I like having to put in some effort. I don't like being given free wins or having my opponent take a free win from me. Because the deck, it's not really an OTK deck in the sense that you run a bunch of like board breakers or negates. You run a bunch of hand traps and you run shifter. And you can OTK through prosperity, which is unfair. I don't like the deck as much as I thought I would. I thought it'd be really cool as a budget OTK deck that's meta, but I guess I got the monkey's paw on that one. I'm not the biggest fan of Tenpai.
I kind of like it, not gonna lie. I think it's alright. I have fun with it in the sense that like I've been trying to like build it a little bit. I've been kind of like coming up with different strategies, different like unique ways to play it. And yeah, it's just one of those decks that it's like really, really powerful. But one thing I really like about it is I just like easily accessible decks that are budget friendly. It reminds me a lot of when the Dragon Rulers first came out in Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, just because like they were a powerful dragon archetype that consists of a bunch of like low rarity cards, and most people can just pick it up and play it. That's one thing I really like about Tenpai. I think because it is so powerful, I do see your point that it can be really, really frustrating to play, especially because like I think I don't even remember what we were playing in the video, but we were playing against this, and it just had the out for everything. So I do understand the frustration, but honestly, I do see it's a very good deck. Maybe we can like agree to disagree. We'll put it in. You had to be there.
Sure. Okay.
Like it's one of those decks that yeah, it's good, but we do have a lot of frustration towards it.
There is one cool thing I like about the deck though. One kind of cool thing I like about Tenpai is that if they have to go first, they go into spheres. Use spheres to summon, I think, Fadra, and then if your opponent goes to the battle phase, Fadra summons one of your Tenpai monster from the deck, and then you can quick synchro into Black Rose Dragon and nuke your opponent's board. So that's kind of a cool interaction, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a cool bait. Your opponent's not really expecting it, and then you nuke their board because they weren't like respecting your deck. I think that's pretty cool, and it's pretty funny to just randomly Black Rose your opponent. However, that's all it is. Otherwise, it's just a bullshit, really powerful OTK deck, and I'm not a fan. However, the best deck in the game, no question, hands down, the best deck Yu-Gi-Oh's ever made, is Ancient Gears. It is the best deck in the game. Ancient Gears is the best deck in the game. Even before the new support, I have been an Ancient Gear Chad since the day I was born. Ancient Gears are just the coolest deck. They look awesome. They're just big, giant, ancient robot guys. Their gimmick is really cool. They're like a battle phase focused OTK deck. When they attack, your opponent can't activate certain things, so either spells, traps, or monsters. They're an Earth Machine deck. Machines are awesome. Earth Machines are really cool. Even in Edison, they're really cool. This is kind of like a really cool beatdown deck. But then in modern day, with the new support, they're just so good. The new support made them a really good OTK deck. Genuinely, I think they'd be a better OTK deck than Tenpai if Tenpai wasn't around. I think they would be the best OTK deck in the game. But regardless, they're the best deck in the game. They keep getting new support throughout the years, which is awesome. People love Ancient Gears. Their fusions are awesome. Everyone loves a bit of Howitzer Burn. Everyone loves a bit of Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Probably my favorite boss monster in the game. 4500 attack, does piercing, attacks all your opponent's monsters. Your opponent can't activate monster effects during the battle phase. Unaffected by spells, traps. It's just so overtuned, and it feels right because you have to fuse 4 Ancient Gear monsters to summon it. And if you have to go through that much effort, your boss monster needs to be insane, which Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is. The deck just feels fantastic. The new support makes it like genuinely such a fun deck to play. If you had to play it before, it was a bit frustrating with how like bricky the deck could be and how sometimes you just couldn't pull off your plays. But with the new support, this deck is just fantastic. It's so good. the most like feel good deck you can play. Let your opponent do whatever they want, and you just say no and you break their board and you win. Into your best deck, let's go. Crowler's a Chad. He is definitely part of the reason why Integer is the best deck. Yeah, into your best deck. Now for a fucking cringe OTK deck, we have Numeron. What do you have to say for yourself?
I like it. I think it's funny. I just love decks that can bring out big monsters that go burr. And the fact that this literally has a card that can go up to 100,000 attack, I think is so ridiculous and funny. I can't help but have a soft spot for it. I'm not going to praise this deck like it's like, oh, it's one of the greatest decks, you just don't understand it. It's a stupid deck. I will fully admit that. It is dumb as hell. But I think it's quite funny. I think you have to be there. I don't enjoy it more than Prank Hits. You can put it down a slot right, there. Right. I know you don't like it because of some tournament that you went against it. Yeah. So I understand your frustration. But in terms of funny, yes, I think this deck is very funny. I think you have to be there. It's where it belongs.
Yeah, you had to be there where I was like in the finals of a Master Duel tournament and I got Numeron OTK'd because I didn't understand the damage step. So that was fun. I had a set Imperm and I could have lived the turn, but I just didn't understand the damage step at that point. So they attack in and their effect activates on the damage step and I can't negate it with Imperm because I'm a damn fool. So yeah, that's just that's how it goes sometimes. You live and you learn, but it is what it is. Next up, Sacred Beast. Let's put him up here. It's the best deck in the game. I think probably here. I think I enjoy it personally more than Nurse Burn. But yeah, I love Sacred Beast. Sacred Beast, oh man. One of the first decks I built getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! My first deck I built getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Was Blue Eyes, of course. And the next one I built was Sacred Beasts because the structure deck came out. I bought 3 copies of the structure deck, built Sacred Beasts, and it's just so fun. They're just the bootleg Egyptian gods, but they're awesome. They're easy to summon with the kind of archetype. They're just big, beefy guys. I just, we all love big beefy monsters. Armatile getting up to 10k is just fantastic. Fallen Paradise drawing 2 cards. Having multiple guys on field, having multiple of your Sacred Beast on field with the trap card just sets up multiple different things for your opponent to play through. So you gain life points when they summon cards. You can set up a skill drain and you can even banish your opponent's cards. Like a one-sided Macrocosmos. It's a really fun deck. I just love the big monsters, summon a big monster in your attack. It's just awesome. I love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see an anime deck getting some sort of support, and this is like an early time when we were getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Sean built this, so we essentially only had 2 decks each. So we used to always play Cyber Dragon versus Sacred Beast, and yeah, it was a tough one to fight against a lot of times. It's definitely a good, powerful deck. I wish Yubel didn't basically kill the deck because opening the Spirit Gates and Dark Beckoning Beast are limited now, which sucks. But what can you do? Sacred Beast is still the best deck. Next up, Branded. Now, let's have a disclaimer here. Neither of us have played pure Branded. We played Branded variants of a bunch of decks. And I love Branded. I think Branded is a really cool kind of archetype you can kind of put into a lot of different decks. Maybe we'll put it here, do you think? I was more arguing with the fact that I played so many versions of Branded. Yeah. That I kind of got bored with it.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you. So I'd probably, if you enjoyed it more than Sacred Beast, sure, if you want to put it higher, that's fine. My only thing was I was just throwing it into every deck just to make the deck a little bit better. I was playing Branded Skull Servants, Branded Witchcrafters, Branded Dragonmaids, Branded Shaddolls and stuff like that. I was just throwing into every deck to a point where I got so bored with it. It was really fun at the start because you're able to just bring out some ridiculously high attack monsters that are very powerful for little to no cost. But I don't know, I got really bored pretty easily, to be honest. I kind of felt like you're doing the same things over and over again. If we met pure Branded decks, I'm sure we'd have a different story altogether and we'd really like the deck as much as other people do. But yeah, I liked it a lot at the start, but I felt I got bored very quickly. What do you think?
So yeah, I think Branded as an archetype is pretty cool. If we were playing pure Branded, that would be pretty cool. Great deck. I like the gimmick. I like fusion summoning from deck, and I think the deck is a lot more than just Branded fusion. I feel like Branded and Despia have a lot more to it. Now, in terms of kind of versions I've played, I have played Sacred Beast Branded, which is pretty fun. I've played Darklord Despia, which you can kind of count. I've played Branded Buster Raider, which spoilers is one of my favorite decks ever. I've played Branded a bunch of different kind of builds. And I just enjoy it because I feel like Branded really gives a lot of other decks a chance. It's really good at enabling certain things. Because it can just dump, let's say, like a random Dark or Light monster from your deck to the grave, which opens up so many plays. I even played branded Dragonmaids before, and that's really fun. Of course, branded Chimera, how could I forget? I think it's just really, really fun. I think like it opens up so many decks that can just like... I think it opens up so many possibilities for a lot of decks, and I really enjoy kind of branded as an engine in a lot of decks. But yeah, of course, never played it pure, but you know, still fun. Next up, Abyss Actors. Oh man.
What's a Pendulum Summon?
What is a Pendulum Summon? I'd never know.
So, we were pulling a lot of Abyss Actor cards. We opened Destiny Soldiers, we opened a box of that, and then just threw out like a bunch of different unboxings we were doing. We kept coming across Abyss Actors, and Sean and I were just thinking, what the heck do these things even do? And it wasn't until they got their last wave of support where some people were actually building it as like a blind second deck that I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a proper try as a deck. Blind second, let's go. And I built the deck and I tested with it and everything. And I just found that I wasn't having as much fun with this like blind second build as I was getting on with like a bunch of other blind second builds I was playing with. Because like, you know, I make blind second heroes, I've made cyber dragons and stuff like that. And I just found that like when it comes to playing those decks compared to Abyss Actors, I just found Abyss Actors just took a lot more out of me. And especially because like with nowadays anyways, it's very, very hard to like play second unless you're playing something like Tenpai. Abyss Actors, I think they have potential, but I just didn't really like it. And also there's a lot of pendulums in the deck, and pendulums are just always complicated for me as well. I do have like a basic understanding of them, but I think they're probably one of my least favorite sort of summoning mechanics, so I'd always rate them quite low. I know there's a lot of pendulum players out there, and yeah, fair play to you, but I don't know, it's just not really one for me. I definitely put it at the bottom tier. Didn't have a lot of fun. It's not even a deck I'd really recommend playing if anyone was considering picking it up. Just play something else. You can get a better deck for cheaper in Tenpai.
Next up, Buster Blader. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how it's so high up. I don't know why I like it so much. I just saw like some of the Buster Blader cards, I'm like, that's a really cool kind of gimmick. You turn your opponent's monsters to dragon and then you negate them with Buster Blader. That's really cool. And you know, a deck that kind of counters dragon decks just sounded really appealing to me, especially back in the day when like Dragon Link was one of the best decks. And I'm like, oh cool, I'll build Buster Blader. So, you know, you start with pure Buster Blader, and you know, one card combo, normal summon Whelp, and you have your whole Buster lock up, which is like a one-sided skill drain. You gotta love it. Definitely part of the appeal was that Buster Blader gains like 1000 attack for each dragon monster on field and in the grave. So, you know, big ass Buster Blader guy with massive attack, you gotta love it. But yeah, I played that for a while, and then I heard people playing it with Branded, and I'm like, that sounds pretty interesting. So I play it with Branded, and one of the most fun experiences I've ever had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just playing Branded Buster Blader. The decks synergize so well together, it's insane. I think it's like one of my favourite ways to play Buster Blader, and one of my favourite Branded variants as well. So fun. I don't understand. I know it's kind of toxic. I know, oh, it's like a floodgate deck because you can like Buster Lock your opponent and lock them out of the extra deck and stuff like that, but I don't care. I'm having fun, you're not. I don't care. It's an awesome deck. I think the Branded side was really good. I played it a lot more when it was like, you know, Branded Fusion was at 3 copies, but I think it's still like a really fun way to play it. Nowadays I play it with like the Horus engine, with like Horus and Bestials, and that's really, really fun. I just love the deck. I don't know why. I love how it's kind of really simple in a way, but there's so much the deck can do. You're always relying on your kind of Buster Lock with your prologue, but there's so many different ways you can set it up, and so many different ways you can play the deck, and yeah, I just love it. And I think Buster Blader is a really cool card. So yeah, and it's always iconic when you're up against a dragon deck, and you summon him, and you just insta-win. It's beautiful. Fucking love Buster Blader. Next up, Virtual World.
Such a fun deck. Is 7-Up okay? Definitely one of the higher ends of that. I think Virtual World is just one of those decks that's kind of like, you can use it as a toolbox deck. Same with Dinosaurs, I feel like. It can just go in so many different directions that you can like tailor it to your own taste, that I find really, really good about it. I think Virtual World is one of these decks that, yeah, it may look complicated, but it actually does have a very simple concept, where you're able to spam the field and set up some like really, really good synchro and XYZ plays. I think it's a lot of fun, and this deck was introduced in one of my favorite sets of all time, which is Phantom Rage. I just think it's a lot of fun, And just the amount of different things I was able to pull off, like building this deck, I find to be really funny. I was able to bring out Dragoon, I was able to set up Winda, I was able to like throw in Beatrice for some crazy plays there. If I wanted to, I was able to use that Mayakashi trap card kind of thing with Beatrice that some people are playing with. There's just a lot of different ways you can take this deck, so it's really open to different directions of creativity. That's why I think it's one of the most fun that you can play it with. You can take it in so many different directions that you'd never have like a poor time playing it. And I even like did really well with it at one time, because there was a time we brought this to I brought it to a regional qualifier, and I was playing against this guy who was playing Naturia Runick, and he's a very, very good player. And he was playing that against Virtual World, but little did we know how much Runick benefited Virtual World, because he kept banishing my cards, which kept making Chooch alive, and I was able to just destroy his deck altogether, which I thought was very funny. I even did some surprise plays against like Superheavy Samurai when that was like still one of the top decks. So Virtual World is still able to hold its own. I think it's a really fun deck. I definitely think it belongs to be in the second tier 7-up, okay.
I really like the way it's kind of like a toolbox, as Luke said already. We played it a bit of Master Duel together, and I tried to play it on my own. Definitely, you know, not one of the most easy decks to learn. I definitely struggled myself trying to learn the deck. But I think it's really cool. I think you can do a lot of really fun stuff. King Calamity locking your opponent with Crimson Dragon was awesome. You gotta love it. But yeah, I really like it. I think it and Dinos. I think like Dinos are my version of your Virtual World. Next up, Time Thieves. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is more of like a XZ spam deck. So it had like Time Thieves, Raid Raptors, Phantom Knights. It was kind of like a cluster of kind of, you go into a massive kind of XZ's combo and you end on like a million negates and disruptions. When I first built the deck, I thought it was like the best deck in the game. I thought it was unbeatable. And then I learned what a hand trap was, and then I learned that you die to like one interruption, and if you don't draw your proper starters, you just cannot win. But you know, I think it's a very fun deck. Definitely not as bad as I'm saying. I think that kind of Time Thief Raid Raptor build was really, really fun. I think Time Thieves on their own are such a cool archetype. I'd love to build like a pure control deck of Time Thieves. They're really cool. I love their gimmick. I just think they're so cool. The aesthetic is awesome. The art is fantastic. I love it, and I think Reader is a really cool card too. So yeah, I love Time Thieves, one of my first kind of like insane wombo combo decks. And yeah, just I have a soft spot for it. Haven't played it in a long time, I'll be honest with you. But I really enjoyed it when I played it.
Okay, Runick.
Yep, you definitely had to be there.
You had to be there. Alright, look it.
Be honest, how much fun did you have with this deck?
Honestly, I did not have fun at all.
Okay, I'm surprised.
I played this deck because, well, here's the thing. It was released in Tactical Masters. Tactical Masters had Labyrinths, Runick, and like one other archetype that doesn't even matter.
Valence?
Yeah, that one.
Let's go.
I really wanted to play Labyrinth. I thought Labyrinth was a really, really cool idea. I like trap decks a lot. So I was like, okay, we're going to buy this set. We're going to pull a bunch of Labyrinths. I'm going to make Labyrinth. It's going to be great. We ended up pulling a bunch of Runick stuff. And I was a bit disappointed, but I was like, oh, look, I have all these cards anyways, so might as well just like build something out of them. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I knew from the start, I'm not gonna lie, I knew that it was a toxic deck, but I was like, you know what, I have all the cards, might as well just build it. And I built it to like a really high like degree, because I just hate stun decks, but I was like, well, you know what, a lot of people play them anyways, might as well just do it. And I brought it to locals, and I did fairly decent, and I was like, yeah, I did fairly decent, but wasn't having fun playing with it, so I built a Sky Striker variant, had even less fun with it, and I don't know, it's just one of these decks that I'm sure some people can get enjoyment out of it, but I personally found when I was playing it against some people, so I don't know if it's just the experience I had with the people either got like really pissed off with me in person, that they ended up being like really rude towards me, which I thought was just like, alright, a bit immature, but whatever. And then also, when I was losing, they were getting like very celebratory and like being very mockingly towards me as well, which I'm kind of like, just grow up, it's a card game. So I kind of like didn't really have like great experiences with it. I thought it was just one of these decks that like, yeah, it pisses people off, that's the way it's like built. But I don't know, I think people's attitude towards me like really shifted my tone towards the deck altogether. The only reason it will hold a soft spot for me was because when it finally got to a point where it's like, okay, screw this deck, I'm not having fun playing it with it. A lot of people are like not having fun playing against it. Just get rid of it. It's toxic altogether. I sold all the cards before they got reprinted, so I actually sold it for a bit of a profit, and it was really, really funny, and it was really, really good for me there. But no, I think Runick is just toxic. You kind of had to be there, but at the same time, I didn't really have too much fun playing it.
Yeah, like Runick, you know, I don't hate it as much as like most people because I like it as an engine. I think it's pretty cool. As a stun deck, it's like whatever. It's like stun is stun. Just like deal with it. That's kind of my attitude towards it. Yeah, I didn't have fun playing against it, but you know, what can you do? I play Buster Blader. I have no right to complain. But yeah, I do like it as an engine though. But you know, we're not talking about it as an engine here. We're talking about it as Runick Stun and Runick Stun. Kind of cringe. Anyway, let's move on to Lightsworn. You've played a few variants of Lightsworn.
My favorite version of Lightsworn is Chaos Lightsworn. I had a lot of fun playing that. I do a few other versions of Lightsworn. I have a pure version, and I also have it as part of Lightsworn Shaddolls 60 card mill deck with Horus and Bishops and stuff like that. But I've had the most fun playing with it when it was Chaos Lightsworn. I'd put it... Ooh, this is tough now. I put it at the high end of Sacred / Crystal based, just because you really rely on mills, and you want good mills in order for it to pop off. But just the satisfaction when you hit the mills that you want is so good. It's like a dopamine rush that you can't help but like be overcome with joy when you actually hit like the really good ones. That I would really praise this deck. I thought it was fantastic when I was playing it with 3 copies of Chaos Space, when Chaos Ruler was legal. I just thought it was such a fun deck. I had a lot of fun playing with it. I kind of stepped away from it when Chaos Ruler got banned, and then it was kind of like, there's not a whole lot of reason to play it. So I kind of stepped away from a bit. But then when the support came out this year of Weiss and Dragonling, I thought it was like fun to pick up again. And Grass got limited to 1, so I think I just really like mill decks that rely on a little bit of luck. So yeah, I think I did have a lot of fun playing this deck.
Yeah, I'm not much of like a mill guy myself. I don't really play any mill decks, but I think they're cool. I like the idea of them. I like the Chaos Lightsworn build a lot. I do like Chaos decks. I think that's like a really fun kind of mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the Chaos decks banishing like lights and darks and stuff like that. I enjoy that a lot. I think your new build is really cool as well. I think kind of 60 card pile of Lightsworn stuff it's pretty cool. Next up, Live Twins or Evil Twins. So I built like pure Live Twins like when the cards got reprinted, and I tried to build it and I'm like, yeah, this deck kind of sucks. And then obviously people start playing it with like Runick and Sprites and stuff like that because they're level 2s. And I played a bit of Master Duel and I really loved it. And I recently like kind of fully committed. I built full Live Twin Runick Spright, and it is definitely one of my more favorite decks. I just really enjoy the deck. I really love that kind of gimmick of Live Twins where it's like you summon one of them, they summon the other one, you link into your links and they keep summoning each other, and while they're on the field they gain different effects. And I think it's just a really cool gimmick. I just think it's like so fun to play. Such great synergy with other decks like Sprites and Runick. I just think it's just such a fun deck to play. You always feel like you have a chance to win, you know? It just feels like all your cards do so much. I just think it's like such a fun deck to play. Maybe like... It's hard to say because, you know, I've only played it like more recently. Maybe out here. I just really enjoy the deck. I just think it's really, really fun. Of course, you know, the Runick stuff, yeah, you play a lot of Runick cards in the deck. And as I said, Runick's kind of cringe. But when you use Runick as like a combo extender type of thing, I think that's pretty fun. I think it's a very enjoyable deck, and you know, I'm happy I built it. I think I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I don't mind Runick when it's used in the likes of this because it kind of just replaces hand traps, and you're going to be coming across interruptions anyways. So if it's hand traps or Runick, you don't really mind the Runick stuff in there. But I think it's really good because it's one of those decks that it just always has a starter, and it can go in so many different directions depending on what starter you open. It can be a lot of fun from there. And it's like one of those decks that's like really powerful that I don't even mind if I lose to it because it's just a very powerful deck. But yeah, it's definitely a really, really cool deck, so just to be high up on the list.
Next up, Fire Kings. You played a bit of Fire Kings.
I played a bit of Fire King. Here's the thing. I bought 3 of the structure deck when it came out, and I built the deck. And it's good. It's a really good deck. But I didn't really have too much fun with it. Because it was new and the cards were good, when I was winning games with it, I wasn't fully understanding why I was winning. I felt like I did so little to win that I kind of didn't get enjoyment out of playing with it. I know there's like, I'm sure if I went hard at it now and like actually built like it properly, I would probably have a lot more fun like trying to learn the intricate things of the deck. But personally, I just found that it's very powerful, but to a point where I kind of didn't really get too much enjoyment out of it. I would say I will try again to like make it a good deck. I might even, since the Diabellstar stuff was reprinted, who knows, I might try to like make a little Snake Eye Fire King thing, or even Fire King Tri-Brigade might be a fun build. But from what I played of it, I didn't have too much fun. It's a great deck, but it was just one of those decks I was kind of like, I felt like I didn't deserve the wins half the time. So I'd probably say you had to be there. I'd probably put it high on the list. Yeah, right there. It's like, I had more fun playing Prank Kids, but I'm not going to dismiss it like it's a bad deck like Numeron or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think Fire King's pretty cool with the new support and all that. I really didn't like the deck before the new support. I kind of saw it around and I'm like, it's kind of like a weird deck. But with new support, I think it's pretty cool. I definitely like to kind of learn it, especially in combination with decks like Tri-Brigade and stuff like that. I am trying to learn it on Master Duel, like Fire King Snake Eye, so we'll see how that goes. I do think it's pretty cool. I think it's like a kind of a cool combo deck. I like some of the interactions. I like the way it's kind of like a fire deck that destroys its own stuff, kind of in a similar way to Dinos, where, you know, you gain advantage when you destroy stuff, and you can dodge disruptions with like destroying stuff with your Kieran and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, haven't really played it, so probably belongs about there. Cyber Dragons,
one of my,
about here.
How dare you? One of my favorite decks of all time. Probably, I think this is one of the first decks. When we were getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh, we bought like little structure decks and starter decks. You got a Blue Eyes structure deck, and I got a Yugi starter deck.
Yeah.
But then that was before COVID. Then COVID happened, and so we just started like try to build decks ourselves. And then I built Heroes. Had a lot of fun with it, and then I decided to build 2 decks right after. I was building Dark Magicians and Cyber Dragons. And oh my god, Cyber Dragons was just so much better than Dark Magician that I had so much fun playing it. And it was one of those decks that it had like a few expensive cards. But since we were kind of getting into this new hobby, you didn't mind spending a bit on some of the pricey cards because the rest were like reprint to hell, so it was like cheap enough to buy. And it was just one of those decks that kind of like you've been playing it for so long that it just sticks with you, and you just end up really, really liking it, and you're always interested in new support that it gets. No matter what way that support is, if it's Clockwork Knight, if it's Diablaster, or whatever, it's always cool to see like it get a little bit of a boost, because the deck isn't the greatest deck of all time. I'm not going to say it is, it clearly isn't, but it's one of those decks that you like to see it do well. And I really like seeing the direction that it's going in with the Diablaster and stuff like that. I think it's just one of those decks I really had a lot of fun playing with. And also, you just bring out big machine boys that can attack multiple times. What more could you want? I think Cyber Dragons is one of my most favorite decks.
100% Cyber Dragons, iconic, super cool from the anime, from GX, which, you know, is the best series of the anime, of course. I think it's funny that like both of our favorite decks are just GX machine decks, you know, both from 2 different, completely different characters, but with the same vibe, you know?
Yeah.
We want to OTK, we want to win fast, we want to just do big damage, and, you know, it's just fun. GX just hit the nail on the head with some just awesome machine decks, and yeah, they're just awesome. Cyber Dragons, super cool. Cooler than Cyberdarks, unfortunately, but yeah. Next up, Snake Eye. I played Snake Eye on Master Duel. I had some success in tournaments. I didn't do too well, but, you know, I had like a lot of fun. This is like the first kind of like deck where I picked up where I'm like, yeah, this is a meta deck. I'm gonna learn it and I'm gonna like do my best. And I had fun. I genuinely think it's a fun deck to play. I know a lot of people would disagree, but I genuinely had a lot of fun playing the deck. Maybe about here. I just think it's a really fun combo deck. I think being able to like do so many things, it feels good. It might feel like not great to play against, but I just had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really cool in kind of like the mirror match where like if you go second, using like cards like Ash becomes a bit dangerous because your opponent's able to use like Hita on you. So it's kind of interesting. You know, there's a lot of unique interactions that you have to like consider when you're playing like Snake Eye mirror matches and stuff like that. Now, I've only played it in Master Duel when like it was, it first came out. So just think like a few months ago, pure Snake Eye. It's not as crazy as it is now in like TCG with like Azamina or Fire King or whatever. I played just pure Snake Eye and I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I have to say I played against Snake Eye so often. I think I played more Snake Eye matches than I played tier matches in my life. And I don't know, Snake Eye is just one of those decks that can play through so much different stuff. That it's just one of these decks that's so powerful. It's quite annoying to me how good it's able to do. But yeah, there's no denying the power of the deck, and clearly a lot of people have fun with it. That's why it's so popular. So yeah, it definitely deserves to be high enough on the list in the second tiers where it belongs.
I think if you compare it to like other meta decks, like compare it to like tier, to cash, to like certain kind of like top tier best decks, I think it's like way more fun to play and way more fun to play against. I think playing against tier is just not fun, and playing against Kashtira is like the worst time of your life.
Oh yeah, I definitely would rather play against Snake Eyes than
Yeah, Snake Eyes feels a bit more like held back. Next up, Rose Dragons. I played this deck on Duel Links. Remember Duel Links? This deck was like meta for a while because you could use Akiza's like skill and you could like get kind of specific cards in your hand and stuff like that. I don't fully remember. All I remember is being able to turbo out Black Rose Dragon and do some funny things. It was really fun. I really liked it. I was like interested in building it in TCG when like the new support came out, but I just never got around to it. And they banned like certain cards that would help the deck a lot. Even like Red Rose Dragon is like still on the list, I think. At least for a while, Red Rose Dragon was like on the ban list. It was kind of like always a hard deck to kind of pick up and play. But if we're talking about Duel Links, which I played a bunch of Duel Links once when I couldn't play Paper Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I just had a lot of fun. So we'll put it like, I don't know, maybe it's recency bias, but I don't know. I love like breaking the opponent's board more than like time teams if I'm just thinking back to it. Maybe we'll put it here. It's fun. It's fun. And Black Rose Dragons are a cool ass card. Next up, Red Eyes Black Dragon. You had to be there. So the only reason I built Red Eyes is because the first set Luke and I opened on the channel was Legendary Duelist Season 1, which had a bunch of Red Eyes cards in it. And I never really liked Red Eyes as much as like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes, right? But I'm like, I have a bunch of cards, I'll give it a go. I could basically just make the deck. So I made like a Red Eyes deck. And it was so bad. Every single game I played with it, I never won. I don't think I won a single game with Red Eyes. And I tried. I tried so many times, but I just couldn't do it. I just don't like the deck. Because as I've said before, a lot of times in the channel, the deck doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be like an Xyz deck, a Fusion deck, a Ritual deck, a Burn deck? What does it want to be? It's nothing. I just didn't have fun with it. I thought I'd have fun with it, and I thought some of the interactions were cool. And I do think some of the Red Eyes cards are cool, like Black Metal Dragon into Red Eyes Darkest Metal Dragon, stuff like that. There are a lot of cool Red Eyes cards, but the deck is not fun to play. Now maybe it's different with the new like Primite cards, that new kind of archetype that works with like normal monsters. Maybe there's some synergy there, but I don't know. I did not have fun playing this deck. Red Eyes is cringe.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, honestly. Next up, Pure Spright, or Spright Frogs, or whatever you want to call it.
I put it up in 7-Up, okay? I have a lot of fun playing this deck. I think Sprite's probably one of the decks that I'm a bit better at playing than I say most of my other decks. I find it to be really simple. I'm sure a lot of other people do, but I find it to be like very simple. You can see the lines very clearly, like no problem at all. So it doesn't take too much thinking power. I really like it because I just love decks that are able to spam the board. I just think it's really cool. I just love inherit summoning onto the field as many as you can, as quick as you can. And Sprites can do that very, very well, and they're very consistent too. I remember when Power of the Elements first came out, two of the like most talked about decks were Tearlaments and Spright. And I remember just reading like both like of the cards that were released, and I was like, okay, Tearlaments is obviously better. Without a doubt, this is so clearly better. Why would you even bother playing Spright? Tear is obviously the better choice to go for. I know that was factually correct, but I still think that Spright was very capable of holding its own against Tear. So when like the results were coming out and Tear was topping, Spright was always like a bit behind it, but not too far, that was able to keep up. So it kind of piqued my interest a bit. And when it all got fully reprinted, I was like, okay, now's the time to just build a deck. And I built it, and I have to say, I've had so much fun with it. It's just one of those decks that you can take in so many different directions. If you want to play Melpy Spright, if you want to play Pure Spright, if you want to play Spright Runick, Live Twin Runick Spright, and stuff like that, it can just be a lot of fun. And I just love the lines with it, and I think I just recommend it as a deck as a whole. I think it's really, really cool. I definitely would rank it high in the second tier.
Yeah, I've played Spright a little bit, like on Master Duel. It's a deck that feels good to play, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but just, it feels good, you know? You can just, it feels like you can do what you want when you play Spright, which is a good feeling a deck should have. Next up, Yubel.
You had to be there. Keep in mind, I am a huge GX fan. I watch all the episodes. I even watched season 4 with the sub, and I think Yubel is just a really interesting character. When Yubel was like printed as a card, I had a few other cards in the archetype, but it was never really all that good until Phantom Nightmare first came out. And when Phantom Nightmare came out, Yubel was affordable. You get like Tree-Cop's Spirit of Yubel, the Lotus Monster, you get Nightmare, Pain, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is a really cool, competent deck. And I really enjoyed playing it. I wasn't particularly good, I will admit to that. But playing against Sean, I didn't win a whole lot. But bringing it to locals, I was actually like winning a good few games. And a few people were interested in it as well. And they were even asking me about the deck. So I feel like I was one of the like first few people that were like playing it like at locals and stuff like that. So it was a topic of conversation, and I actually really enjoyed it. But people were telling me about like, oh, the new cards are coming, gonna make it like crazy. I was thinking, oh, okay, I might try to keep up with it then. If it's gonna be like a deck that's gonna consistently be good, let's go for it. But then Nightmare Throne was printed, and oh my god, it was like, when it first got printed, it was like €16 per copy, and I was like, it's a bit pricey, I don't really want to spend that much on a deck. Then it shot up to 30, and then it went up to €40 per copy, and I was like, no, not a chance, I don't like the deck that much. And then Spirit Yubel came out, and like right away, that was like a €50 card, and most people were running at least 2 of it. I was thinking, you know what, I just don't care enough about this deck anymore. I kind of lost interest in it because it was just getting to a power level and a money level that I just couldn't keep up with, that I didn't really care enough about the deck to like bother following it into the high res that it was. It's one of these decks that's of course very powerful. It's still like one of the meta decks right now, but honestly it didn't pique my interest enough. I think the gimmick of like your opponent attacks into it and they take the damage was a lot of fun, but it kind of wore tired a little bit. And then when all the other support came out that was too expensive, I was like, I'm not going to invest so much in the same gimmick. I just didn't have a lot of fun, so I'd rate it very, very low with my experience with the deck.
Next up, Luke and I had a little bit of a like retro kind of arc. We played some Goat and Edison formats for a little bit, and yeah, we've played a few decks. Luke played a good old DNA Warrior deck. How did you find this?
I put at the end of You Had to Be There.
You did have to be there. You had to be back in like 2004.
Yeah, it was fun, but like I don't know. We made a live duel, and halfway through recording, I realized I was missing the essential card of the deck. So I basically threw an entire video, and it just soured the taste altogether. I know it can be a good goat deck, but honestly, sour experience has to be You Had to Be There.
And then you also played Harpies.
I had a lot more fun. I'd actually put Harpies above in Sacred Crystal Base. Yeah, but you know, probably at the end of it, because it is a fun deck. I really enjoyed it in the GOAT format. I thought it was a lot of fun when we were playing GOAT cards. And I also played Harpies as like a modern sort of version, and had a lot of fun there. I like decks that take advantage of playing Noro monsters, like old Noro monsters, such as Harpie Lady, so I had a lot of fun playing it. And the GOAT version I thought was a lot of fun too.
And then I played good old Gravekeepers. I genuinely had a lot of fun playing Gravekeepers and GOAT. Like, probably here. Gravekeepers and GOAT is a really fun kind of control deck. Your Gravekeeper monsters are so big, especially with like your Necro Valley on field. And Necro Valley is a really good floodgate in like older formats. With like Chaos stuff being really popular, Necro Valley just shuts all that down. It's a really fun deck. Your monsters get really big. You have some really good defense. You can play a bunch of trap cards. I enjoyed it a lot. I played it like in 2 videos we did, and I just had a lot of fun with it. I think Gravekeepers are really cool, like aesthetically. I think they're a lot more toxic now in the modern day, but I still think they're like an interesting deck, and it would be something I would like consider playing in modern day. Next up, Blackwings. We played Blackwings in Edison, and you also played it in like Modern.
Yeah, so with Edison, I would probably rank it like close enough to the Harpie Ladies. I'm just not really an Edison person. I did have fun with it, but I don't know. Edison just isn't really my format. I do quite like Blackwings though. But this was before Blackwings got like their big support from Darkwing Blast. I was playing Blackwings as a sort of field spam sort of deck that also went into Xyz and Lynx with a bunch of Phantom Knights cards and Raid Raptor, and I had so much fun playing that. So in terms of that deck, I would actually put it up in is 7-up okay. I think I had so much fun playing that deck. That was like one of the first like heavy combo decks I ever made, and I definitely enjoyed it quite a lot. Although it was like a small enough Blackwing package, I still played enough to classify as a Blackwing deck. You will probably still find a profile on the channel somewhere. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I definitely rank it high in is 7-up okay.
Next up, Umi Control.
You had to be there.
But I mean, it wasn't like terrible.
It wasn't terrible, it just wasn't fun, to be honest with you. I like the idea of Umi Control. I just like the idea of having like old cards that can like be really oppressive and like build up a board that can be like a really good control build. But honestly, most of the time with Umi, I built it with like an Xyz armor package, and it just wasn't as fun. I find that you were either sacrificing the control for the armor package or you sacrificed the armor package for the control, and it just ended up being a cluster of 2 decks in the one that were kind of fighting against each other rather than working together. I was first inspired to make Umi when I played against a guy in locals who was playing Sky Striker Umi, and I thought that was really, really cool and inventive. So I wanted to try my hand at it, but I just didn't have as much fun as he did. Crystal Beasts and Concave Control. I would put that in probably the high end of Sacred / Crystal based. I think it's a fun deck. I had a lot of fun playing it. I don't necessarily think it's the best deck I've ever played, but I definitely won a lot of games bringing it to locals when I was playing Conclave Control. Because here's the thing, I was playing against like some top players that were playing like Snake Eyes and stuff like that. And I really had a hatred for Snake Eyes. So when I was playing against a certain opponent that was getting like very angry with me, that I was like oppressing his board with like Necro Valley and stuff like that, and he was getting very salty and just disinterested altogether, that it was kind of a different experience with the Runick. When I was playing Runick and the person was being like angry towards me, I felt bad for him. But when I was playing it the Crystal Beast against him and he was playing Snake Eye, I really didn't care, so it didn't like sour my experience with the deck. I still love Crystal Beast. I really enjoy GX, so of course I really like Jessie as a character, and I was trying to collect all the Crystal Beasts when I was a kid as well. So when I was able to like build it as a proper deck with like the new support and the structure deck, I thought that was fun. But I actually made it a version of it before the structure deck, and I had a lot of fun with that. So when I got the support, I thought it was even more fun, and I really, really liked the deck. So it's still one of my more favorite decks.
Yeah, I genuinely miss when you used to play this deck. It's just so fun, and it's just so hype, you know. It's just like the Crystal Beast, they're just so cool, and they genuinely like, they can catch you off guard and do a lot of like weird things. And you know, I guess it's like OG Snake Guy putting your stuff in the spell trap card zone. I think it's really cool. Everyone loves Crystal Beasts. They're crystal based after all. We got Penguins. I think Penguins probably had a bit more fun playing Penguins than Marincess. Penguins are just like a silly kind of gimmick deck. I built this because we did a $60 deck building challenge where you built Dragonmaid and I built Penguins, best deck in the game. And yeah, it's like a fun kind of combo deck. It's a fun synchro combo deck. It is kind of like unique and kind of gimmicky. So obviously all your Penguin monsters, like they're flip monsters. So Penguin Soldier, you flip them and you bounce 2 cards. And then you have like Penguin Ninja, which can bounce 2 spell traps. And even like Glacial Beast Polar Penguin can like bounce a monster and stuff like that. But when you combine that with your Nope Penguin, you're able to banish the cards instead, which is just insane. It's so funny because you can just catch your opponent off guard. It's just a really fun synchro deck. You can synchro into some kind of like generic good guys as well. It's really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I never kind of built it properly. I had like a few good builds, but I never kind of stuck to it and like found a build I really enjoyed. But maybe we'll get to that point one day. But for now, I did have a lot of fun with it. I think penguins are based, of course.
Before we move on, let me start off by saying Purrely is a very good and powerful deck. I just didn't enjoy playing it. I would probably... Honestly, what's a pendulum summon? I'd put it at the top of that. Purrely is so good, but I just found it so complicated, and I found it very, very difficult to keep up with. Purrely's a great deck, it's very powerful, but when I was winning with them, I didn't feel like I deserved the wins, just because I knew, deep in my heart, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So it's a powerful, great deck. I just don't know how to play it. I don't know how to play it well, at least. I don't know. I just didn't have a lot of fun playing it because I didn't understand what was happening. I was still winning games while not understanding what's happening, and that's one of the worst feelings I think you can have playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're winning, great, but you don't feel like you deserve it if you're just playing like a bunch of like powerful cards with like little to no interaction. So yeah, I personally didn't enjoy it. I'd say it's at this top of what's a pendulum summon.
Next up, Infinitracks. I played like pure Infinitracks for a little period on Master Duel. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought like the Infinitracks looked really cool. I thought their rank 9 was really cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll play like pure Infinitracks. I won't play it like Earth Machines. And I enjoyed it a lot. I had like a good bit of fun. Maybe like here. I genuinely enjoyed it a lot when I was playing it on Master Duel. A very fun deck. I thought it was really cool how I kind of limited myself just to the Infinitrack cards, because you had to use a bunch of really unique cards you wouldn't run in Earth Machine, like Outrigger Extension and then like the rank 9 guy and like a lot of the like weird kind of level 5 Infinitrack monsters that you just never run in like Earth Machine. It was just really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I think the cards look awesome, you know. Of course I love Earth Machines, and I think Infinitracks have really cool designs. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this deck.
Keep in mind, Endymion's also a good deck. I enjoyed it more than Purrely, but what's a pendulum summon?
What is a pendulum summon? That's a good question.
This was a lot of fun because I was playing it with like the spell books as well, and even when like Spellbook of Judgment was like limited, I was still able to play it a little bit. But it's just one of these decks that just takes so much brain power to play that I didn't have a whole lot of enjoyment out of it. Not like I was winning games left, right, and center. I'll admit I'm not a good pendulum player, but it's just one of those decks that can be really good. It's deserving of a much better pilot. I'm clearly not that guy. Definitely the top of what's a pendulum summon.
Flunder, you must confess your sins for what you've done to me. You have to be there, definitely.
I enjoyed it. I have to say, that was really funny. We made a video. It was like the $10 deck building challenge or something like that.
$20
$20
challenge.
Okay. I knew Flunder was cheap, and I knew Sean hated it.
I knew Flunder was cheap, but I didn't think you'd do me like that.
I thought it was really funny because Sean was playing Magikey, and I think he went first or something like that. So he's bringing out Magikey, and I kind of knew that Magikey was like one of those decks that I wouldn't understand at all, but it wasn't like high power. So when I activated Jack in the Hand, one of my favorite moments ever recording this channel was activate Jack in the Hand, and Sean says, "I better not see a fucking bird."
And what do I see?
And what does he see? He sees 3. And we played the game, and yeah, I was quite ruthless, I have to say. It was quite funny though, I thought, anyways.
It was funny, and like I think Flunder, you know, bird decks are just kind of funny. I think Yu-Gi-Oh players have a weird relationship with birds. I don't know why. It's just like bird decks are always so weird. But yeah, like I like the art. The art's really nice, and you know, the penguin's funny. Like M-Pen's a funny dude. But yeah, not fun to play against. I'll never forgive you. Next up, Superheavy Samurai.
Oh, you had to be there.
You had to be there. This kind of goes right next to Prank Hits.
Yeah, honestly, with Superheavy Samurai, I knew the deck was going to be insane, so I invested heavily into the deck, and the best card got banned. Like as soon as, like not even before all my cards arrived, and I've been salty with the deck ever since. I knew the deck was going to be one of the greatest decks of all time, but they hit it too soon, and I'm so mad and disappointed. And considering ever since then they've been like hurting the deck even more by banning even more like generic cards like Apollosa and Savage Dragon and stuff like that. I'm still salty to this day. But if I had played it at the full potential, you would have had to been there.
Next up, we have Destiny Heroes. Now, when Luke was like, building all this hero stuff, I wanted to be different, so I decided to build Destiny Heroes, because we pulled a bunch in Destiny Soldiers, and I'm like, these cards are pretty cool. And I built some Destiny Heroes. It's kind of unfortunate because it is very much like regular heroes with like Destiny Heroes tacked on. It doesn't really have its own identity. Like, some cards are obviously very specific to Destiny Heroes, but you're still playing Stratos. You're still playing like a lot of generic hero cards. But I still really like the deck. I think it's really fun. I think there's a lot of unique stuff you can do with it, like Dystopia and like Dreadmaster is a funny card you can go into. Dominance is really cool. There's like some really funny combos you can do with him, and they just look cool as well. I love the idea of like looking into the future and like changing your destiny. So like with Dominance, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and you organize them however you want, so that like it has synergy with cards like Destiny Draw, so you can choose which cards you're gonna get. You can also alter your opponent's destiny by looking at the top 5 cards of their deck and searching and putting them however you want. It's a really funny gimmick. It's just really cool. The Destiny Hero monsters are really cool. DPE obviously is insanely broken. Fusion Destiny, just a great card. I had a lot of fun with this deck. I will bring it back at some point. I think that it is one deck that I really do want to come back to at some point.
Witchcrafters. Witchcrafters were cool, but you kind of had to be there. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, no.
I really just wanted to build a deck. It was one Christmas, and I was just like, you know what's a deck that I could just kind of like build? And Witchcrafter got all their stuff reprinted in the tins. Just kind of looking into them, and I really like the idea of like recycling spell cards, because they have the effect that the Witchcrafter spells in the graveyard, they can be added back to your hand if you control a Witchcrafter monster during the end phase and you didn't use the primary effect. And I thought that was a really, really cool gimmick. I really liked the idea of recycling resources, so I thought it would be great. And I built it, and it was fine. It has a few good boss monsters. I really like Hane, and of course Madame Vera is insane. But I don't know, the deck just never really lived up to the hype that I thought it was going to be. But I'm still glad I built it. The Dogmatica version I built was kind of like cool, but I don't know, it just never... It never had the same essence that I thought it was going to be. I was coming off of Shaddolls when I was playing Witchcrafters, and going from a powerhouse like Shaddolls down to Witchcrafters was just such a downgrade. Invoked now. I had a lot of fun playing Invoked. I would probably put it at the high end of Sacred/Crystal based. I think it was really, really cool. I really enjoyed Invoked, Dogmatica, and I also had a little Shaddol engine in there as well. But the Invoked cards I just really, really liked. I just liked the... Invocation. That was one card that was really expensive that I really wanted, so I bought a bunch of packs of Shadows Valhalla to try and pull it, and I did, funnily enough.
First
pack, by the way.
Good times.
And it was great. I just really, really enjoyed the deck. I really like fusion decks. I think they're probably one of my more favorite summoning mechanic, and I really, really liked how Invoked was able to bring up like really powerful monsters to little to no cost as well, and the fact you're able to recycle the fusion card with the likes of Alistair as well, I thought was great. I really enjoyed playing that deck. Dark Magician. What's a pendulum summon? Honestly, I built this same time I built Cyber Dragons. Dark Magician's a cool guy, but honestly, I could never bring myself to invest into like I think it was probably like €60 for Magician's Souls. I think Soul Servant or whatever it was called was like a €20 card at the time. And it's just one of those decks that, yeah, you would probably have fun playing with it, but I didn't want to invest the money. And then Dragoon as well on top of things. It's just one of those decks that it got too expensive, got too priced for me, so I never got to play it at its full potential. But even if I did, I don't think I'd enjoy it as much as the other decks on this list.
I think it was really bad timing. I feel like the time we would have cared to play Dark Magician was the time that the deck was way too expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
I played a bit of Dark Magician like on Yu-Gi-Oh! Nexus, and I played a bit of it. It's like fun. I like the kind of gimmick and stuff like that, but it's not great. But it's Dark Magician. He's a cool guy. Okay, we have Red Dragon Archfiend. This is a relatively new deck because I started playing it when the structure deck came out, and I'll be honest with you, I did not expect to like this deck as much as I have. I've been playing with like Bestials and stuff like that. I think it's such a fun deck. I think Red Dragon Archfiend is just a really cool card in general. It has to go up here like somewhere, like probably here for me. I really like Dragon Archfiend. I was not expecting to like the deck as much as I did, but I just like how the deck plays. I like the synergy with Bestials. I just like Bestials like in general. I think Bestials are just really cool. And yeah, it's funny because I'm not the biggest 5Ds fan, but I just really like it. The deck struck a chord with me, and I just really enjoyed it. It's just a fun single combo deck, pretty strong. I'm just a big fan.
Yeah, you were talking about building the deck for a while, and then when they finally announced the structure deck, you're like, oh yeah, might as well buy the structure deck. It ended up being one of your best decks.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So I'm very happy that like the deck got some good support, and I just like the playstyle. I'm a big fan. Next up, Blue Eyes. We both have, I'd say, a lot to talk about in terms of Blue Eyes because we played it in so many different ways. Let's put it up like maybe here.
Yeah, probably somewhere in the middle of the tier list because we both played like various different versions of the deck. We were obsessed with Blue Eyes because I was really big into buying the movie packs, and I had some crazy luck with the movie packs. I think I pulled like 2 alternatives or something like that, and that was like one of the first sets I would buy like a lot of. It's because we were like first getting into Yu-Gi-Oh again as well, so I really liked it, and I was trying to build Blue Eyes. I built pure Blue Eyes. I built a version of Chaos Max Blue Eyes. I built a hybrid of those. I built a Kaiju Blue Eyes, which was awful, by the way, but awesome. Still, I think it can go in multiple different directions, but I still end up having fun with it. Even my latest version of Blue Eyes, which you can find on the channel, is one of the more popular videos for some reason. I kind of threw in some like Assault Synchron stuff, and then you're able to go into Barone, Rip, and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I still think Blue Eyes is fun. I'm really looking forward to the structure deck.
Oh, the structure deck is going to be insane. Speaking of like the structure deck, I think that works really well with Buster Blader. So, you know, more points in Buster Blader's favor. But yeah, I like obviously everyone loves Blue Eyes. When I first got back into Yu-Gi-Oh, I was thinking like, yo, how good is Blue Eyes going to be now? It's been like 20 years. How good is the Blue Eyes deck going to be with all the like the new modern cards? And yeah, I was kind of disappointed. But still, the deck is like, of course it's fun, you know, everyone loves Blue Eyes. Personally, I enjoy the Chaos Max version because I like OTKing. I like the idea of giving your opponent a 0 defense monster, summoning Chaos Max, attacking into it, doing double piercing damage and winning the game. That was always like my kind of favorite way to play Blue Eyes. And I recently built a Dogmatica Chaos Max deck, which, yeah, you can say it's not really a Blue Eyes deck because it doesn't play Blue Eyes, but it still plays Chaos Max. And using the Dogmatica card to weight like Chaos Max is just really fun because it's just a really good way to turbo out Chaos Max. You know, everyone loves Blue Eyes, but I feel like we've played so many other decks now that it's like, it's not, if it was a better deck, maybe we'd enjoy it more. And maybe once the structure deck comes out, we'll have a lot more fun with it. But for now, I think it's, you know, it's fun, but I feel like it's mid-tier. Deskbots.
Not gonna lie, I actually really enjoyed this deck. I probably put it in Sacred / Crystal based, probably in the low end to be perfectly honest. You can go lower. Yeah, about there. Yeah, end of the tier.
Yeah.
We built this in one of the budget deck building challenges.
$10 challenge.
$10 challenge
versus Exodia.
I will admit I was inspired by Gage on the Progression series to build this deck. And oh boy, did it not disappoint. I had so much fun playing it. It was funny because Sean's usually the guy to activate urgent schedules. When I activated this, we got a really good reaction out of it. I had a lot of fun. The deck is pretty bad, not gonna lie. But still, I think I like the idea of like small little robots that can boost up a bunch of attack and go in for an OTK. I think that's really cool. The fact that you can pair this with a bunch of other like powerful machine cards as well, such as Urgent Schedule and Machine Dupe, I just think it's a very, very fun deck to play.
Next up, Synchrons. You're a big Synchron guy.
Big Synchron guy. I'd probably put it at the end of Is 7-Up okay?
Okay.
Because I do think when the deck gets going, I do have a lot of fun with it. But it's just in the case of whether it gets going or not. It's one of those decks that if it does get going, great. You pretty much guarantee yourself to win. But it's so hard to like start off. It did get some support recently that it did elevate the deck a little bit, but it's still not quite there yet. It's definitely nowhere near as powerful as your synchro deck with the Red Dragon Archfiend. But yeah, you know what? Actually, I'd probably put it lower. I'd probably put it below Crystal Beast. Yeah. It's fun, but now the more I say it out loud, the more I think about how much effort you have to put in to get it going. Yeah, it probably isn't the best, but it's still a cool deck.
Magikey, you definitely had to be there, but I'm so disappointed with... Okay, look, let's be honest, this is the worst deck we've ever made between us. I'm so disappointed. I thought the idea was really cool because it revolves around a normal monster, and it has like every summoning mechanic, so you have like a ritual, you have a synchro, you have an Xyz, you don't have a link, maybe that's what the deck needs. But I thought it was like pretty fun. I thought it was kind of like a cool kind of gimmicky deck, but it is just beyond bad. It's just such a bad deck. And even the like most recent support being the new Xyz guy, like the level 8 Xyz, it's awful because the only way you can summon it is by using 2 of your other boss monsters to go into it for like no payoff. The deck makes me very sad. However, just now I'm thinking maybe it can have some synergy with like Primites. Who knows? Maybe I'll cook. You never know. The deck is cheap though. It's kind of cool. Kind of like a funny gimmick. But I don't know. It's probably the most times I've ever ritual summoned though, because that's like the main way you play the deck. But yeah, it is what it is. And finally, Dragon Link. I have like a weird relationship with Dragon Link. Maybe here. So I kind of built like Dragon Link. Not perfectly, because I didn't have like access to Bestials when I built Dragon Link, so it always felt like underwhelming, and I never really got the combos. I know it's one of those decks where like you can really kind of freestyle with it. It was a lot better on Master Duel because I had like Chaos Ruler and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like I never learned the deck properly. I never gave it like enough attention. So there was a big period of time where I'd play it and I'd just feel bad because I didn't really get how it played, and then I just stopped playing it because I'd feel bad. But like more recently, I'm just thinking like I'd love to get back into it because it was like genuinely fun. I do enjoy the Bestials. I do enjoy kind of dragon spam, like, you know, link climbing and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. I think it's very fun. So I definitely will like give it a try again. I think I may have judged you too harshly, but you know, I think Dragon Link is a very fun deck. I think it's very cool. I always thought it was cool. The whole reason I played the deck, or the whole reason I like bought the cards, was because I thought dragons were cool and I thought Dragon Link was a really cool deck. But yeah, I just had like a bad kind of first experience with it. But I think we'll get back. I think we'll play a bit more Dragon Link, and I think the new versions might be a bit more fun.
I do kind of miss this deck. I thought it was one of your best decks. We used to have like really intense battles with this and Sky Striker. I think it's really good. It got hit a few times now, so it mightn't be as powerful as it could be. But undeniable, Dragon Link was one of the best decks ever. It won Worlds at one stage. It's a very powerful deck.
Alright, so that's it for our favorite decks tier list. As you can see, there's a lot here. We've played a lot of decks throughout the past few years, and I think, you know, most of them are pretty cool. I think we like kept up with most of them pretty much. I think our top tier has a lot of like really cool decks, you know. Like my favorite trio up here, so Ancient Gears, Buster Blade, and Rikka, and then your favorites are Cyber Dragon, Sky Striker, and Heroes. I think these are like, you know, pretty good. Pretty much our favorite decks, so
yeah, I'm quite happy with the way this list turned out. Again, keep in mind this is all personal opinions of experience playing these decks. I'm not saying each deck is better than the other. Just keep that in mind.
Besides Ancient Gears, which is objectively the best deck,
it's the greatest deck of all time, undisputed.
So let us know what you think in the comments. What are your favorite decks? We'd love to know. If you have similar opinions to us, that'd be great. And if you think differently, let us know. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think. So thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, make sure you check out our memberships. You can get these videos early. And if you want to build any of these decks, we do have a TCG Player affiliate link in the description, which you can use to buy some of these cards for these decks, and it would directly support the channel and help us make more content. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content.